Olivia, I want to talk also about trade. The Trump administration says it has agreed to a framework for a trade deal with China. So what's in the deal and how close is it to being finalized at this point?
Well, it still needs to be ratified by both President Trump and President Xi Jinping, but negotiators spent a lot of time in London over the last 2 days really hammering out the details. And basically, it's the framework of what we saw come out of Geneva last month. But the difference in this is they said they had some negativity they needed to sort out. What was that negativity? Well, it was U.S. access to rare earth minerals and magnets. Yep. Magnets, not the magnets that go in your fridge, but the magnets that you need in your cars, the magnets that you need to build, certain things in the defense sector as well. We know there were certain concerns about access to of ethane on the Chinese part. So certainly there were issues about access to materials that both sides were producing. The U.S. wanted rare earth access. China was asking for the U.S. to roll back export limits on technology parts related to airplanes, ethane, and also visa restrictions. Remember, that's been also something that's been popping up on U.S. college campuses. The U.S. said as part of these negotiations, they'd roll back those visa restrictions on Chinese students. So seems like there is a framework in place, but we'll have to see because this is exactly what we said last month, Nancy.
Very good point there. And Olivia, before you go, last week we watched a very public feud break out between President Trump and Elon Musk. We're now learning the two spoke on Monday to be a fly on that wall. But what do we know about that call and where that relationship stands now?
Right. We have new reporting about this, actually, that this call came as a result of a phone call that Susie Wiles, the chief of staff and Vice President Vance, had with Elon Musk on Friday. That is where they urged him to try to repair his relationship with the president after that very public fallout that we all watched play out on X and Truth Social. And as a result, we know that Elon Musk called the president on Monday. We don't know the contents of that call. We don't know how long it was. We don't know really what they spoke about. One could guess. But today we saw Elon Musk post on his platform X that he regrets some of the things he said about President Trump, namely that claim that he was part of the Epstein files, who, of course, is a convicted pedophile who committed suicide back in 2019. So quite notable there that he said he feels regret for some of the things he said, and the door, from him apologizing might still be open. Caroline Leavitt from the podium today during that briefing said that the president acknowledged the apology and they're grateful for it.
All in the heat of the moment, apparently. Olivia, Rinaldi, thank you very much. New data from the Labor Department shows inflation rose less than expected last month. The Consumer Price Index, which excludes volatile food and energy prices, increased by 0.1% between April and May. That puts the annual inflation rate at 2.4%. The Federal Reserve is trying to get that number down to 2%. CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady joins us now. Kelly, always very good to see you. So how did the stock market react to this new inflation data, as well as the deal with China?
Pretty much unchanged. All three major indexes were kind of up, down at different points, but ended nearly flat. And what that tells you is that, hey, it wasn't as worse as it could have been in terms of the inflation rate, but it also tells you that this deal either wasn't what investors wanted, which is what I'm hearing from a lot of folks. They don't love the fact that there is still a tariff, but also they don't necessarily expect this to fully go through. As Olivia aptly pointed out, you still have to have this deal ratified by both President Trump as well as President Xi. And we've been here before with the back and forth. And that's why you saw a little bit of optimism, but pretty much neutral from the markets today.
So why was the CPI increase lower than expected? And do you think that there could be a bigger impact from tariffs in the next data set that is released?
Well, I do want to emphasize this was the first increase that we've seen over 3 months. We were going down. Prices were still rising, just at a slower rate. The reason why we didn't get up to 2.5% at an annual inflation rate, we only got to 2.4%, is because of energy. We saw a full percentage point drop across the energy index on a monthly basis. That was far above the overall average. And gasoline specifically was down 2.6%. To your point, are we going to see the impacts of tariffs in the future? We already saw it a little bit this month. We saw vehicle parts spike as well as appliances, think washers, dryers. Those are things we get from overseas. And we do expect over the next few months that to increase. It's just a question of how much and how quickly.
Well, that being said, this is still, as we mentioned, still above the Fed's inflation goal of 2%. So what can we expect when the Fed makes a decision at their interest rates meeting, which is, I believe, 1 week from today?
Nothing.
Nothing.
That's it. That's it. we are expecting the Fed to leave interest rates unchanged. The market is pricing in a 99.9% chance of that. So that is as close to a sure thing as you can get.
I know that's not exactly what President Trump was calling for,
certainly
but
not.
a definitive no right there from you. I also want to turn more, actually talk more about this trade deal with China. The U.S. will impose 55% tariffs on Chinese imports, while China will maintain its 10% tariff on U.S. goods. So what does that really mean for U.S. consumers as well as businesses, given all this back and forth and uncertainty and changing policies?
Well, it means that prices could remain higher. We could see them creep up as businesses have to pay that import tax when they are bringing goods into the country. That means they will likely pass that on to consumers or maybe eat it themselves. And from the business side, now you have a lot of businesses going, okay, well, I was really hoping that tariff was going to be zero. Do I go to other countries and source products? But we don't have those trade deals done either. So it's still a lot of uncertainty as they try and figure out China, India, the U.S., where do I get my products from?
Kelly O'Grady, we really appreciate it. Thank you very much.